Welcome to my parlor. Hi, I'm Priscilla Andrews with Prairie Parlor. I'm going to bring you another video on how to set a stone into a polymer clay setting. Today's stone will be a little different. This one is going to be a clear or shiny stone that you want to be able to see through. And so we need to come up with a setting that's going to go around the side of the stone, but still hold it firmly in place, and yet be decorative with polymer clay. So stay tuned. If you want to see more videos like this, click the subscribe button, and don't forget to ring the bell so that you'll be notified when those videos are posted. So let's get started. Today I'm going to show you how to wrap a rock with polymer clay just around the edges. And you want to do this when you have a translucent or transparent rock. If you look at this one, I don't know if you can see, but this rock is transparent in this whole area here. So the first thing that I do is I take my extruder, and with the smallest slit disc, I'm going to extrude enough clay to go around the outside of this. So here's my strip of clay. And the first thing I'm going to do is put just a little bit of, I'm going to use clear liquid polymer clay. You can use Bake and Bond or a color. But the reason I'm using scrap clay for just the strip is because this is just our base. It's going to give us something to hold on to, something that isn't going to slip around when we do all our other stuff. And I'm just going to go ahead and start laying this strip down here. Right along the ridge of the rock. And now we're going to bake it for 15 minutes. And we're back with our stone that is baked with that strap around it. And I had some idea what I wanted to do with this stone, but what I usually do is I sit down with some graph paper and I trace the rock. So I just set the stone down, I trace it, and I draw some designs until I come up with something that looks. And so I resorted to my typical and most comfortable leaf pattern. I think this is going to work, but I won't know till I do it on the stone. What I like to do is to dry brush. So I'd rather go with black. And then I am going to dry brush a goldish bronze color. I'll match that color as best I can. So I will have an antiqued effect. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I put black in here. And I'm using the smallest slit again, because we're going to cover the slit that we already made. Before I do that, I'm going to put some of the Sculpey black liquid clay on just a few places of this, and just kind of spread it around so that it's going to stick. This time I'm going to make sure the black strip is going to go down over the one underneath. The next thing that we are going to do is I'm going to take the extruder with the smallest hexagon disc, and I'm going to extrude some black with this. Now I'm going to use the teeniest, tiniest little hold disc to get some black out. I'm going to extrude a really thin strip of this golden copper mixture. But before we put anything else down, I want to texture this with a toothbrush that I have cut off all the tops so that they're even. I like to have a little texture for a couple reasons. The first is it hides flaws. That's probably the biggest one. I like to stain. I like to dry brush, and all of those procedures require some texture. I'm going to start and end it where there's going to be, at least where I'm planning on putting the leaves at this time. It hides a join, and it's just it's a good cheater's way. Here is our stone, and we're ready for the next steps. Okay, I'm going to start with dry brushing this textured edge that we did. And you'll see in just a minute why or how the texturing is important when you use dry brushing techniques. Now, this is the color called Aztec Gold. That is a Sargent Art Metallic Tempera paint. I use those for my pour paintings as well. And this is the gold that matched the gold I felt the best out of all the golds that I have. When you dry brush, you want your brush wet with color, but not saturated. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to just be covering the highlights of that textured area with a dry brush. Okay, now we have dry brushed all around the edge here, and if you can see, it has kind of a gold shimmer, but yet the places that we textured with the toothbrush are dark. So we have a nice dry brush effect there. This is the way that our pendant is going to hang according to our design. And so the next thing we have to do is start adding the leaves that I have in the design. When you make overlapping leaves, the first thing you want to do on something like this is make sure they're thin. This one's a little bit thick, and as you see that, it's going to sit there and it's going to take up a lot of space, and it doesn't bend so easily. So I made some that are a lot thinner. And you always have to start at the bottom because you want the leaves on the top to overlap the leaves on the bottom. We also want a little bit of the leaf to show on the other side. So if the pendant turns around, you can still see the leaf. So we're going to get our Bacon Bond out, or our, liquid polymer clay. And I'm just going to put a spot here to hold that leaf in. And move it up a little bit so that the tip isn't extending out beyond the bottom where it could break. And there we have a leaf a little bit on that side. And on this side. Next, I'm going to place another leaf like that. This is some scrap clay that is not cooked. It's nice and soft. And what I'm going to do with that is just make a little pedestal for my rock to sit on as I continue designing the sides. One of the things that I did is I took this brassy or bronzy gold that we made, and I made a bunch of little balls out of them, because what I'm going to do now is place those balls in some of these spots on both sides, because we want just to add some interesting contrast to the black that we have. But right now, what I'm going to do is take this hexagon piece that we had made, and I'm going to twist it so it looks kind of like a piece of wrought iron, or maybe even rawhide leather or something. And I'm going to start that right here. And it's going to run down the side. And it's going to make a loop down here on the corner. I'm not too worried about what it's going to look like up here where it joins, because we're going to be putting our bail up there. And stay. Use my best dog training voice here. And then I am going to draw a twisted loop up down on this corner. And then this is just going to end right here. I'm going to bring that loop in a little bit. And then we're going to end with a leaf right on that spot. Like that. So I'm going to cut this off here. I'm going to take another leaf and put just a little bit of this on there, just enough to make it stick. And I got too much. I got to remember to lay my bottles down when I'm not using them. I'm going to move that back just a little bit more. And then I'm placing our leaf right at the end of that right there. What I'm going to do then is add one more leaf, because if you've seen my other videos, I like the back to look just about as nice as the front. And on something like this, I like it because it's such a pretty stone from both sides. I like it to be just about as pretty on the back as it is on the front. So we have two leaves right here. That actually looks pretty good. I'm going to add one more thing, and that is I'm going to put some little balls of gold in the areas right here where it joins. One of the things that I like to do is make lines crooked instead of straight. That way they're just more interesting. They also draw the eye away from anything in the design that might not be even, symmetrical, or whatever. What I'd like to now is take my ball tool on the smallest end, and this just helps fix these to the base, and it also is going to add just a little more textural element. I can take some stain and I can put just a drop of dark stain in there if I want to. And I think we got them all. What we're going to do now is we are going to put the bail on top. And to do that, I'm going to take some of our hexagon shaped black clay that we're going to twist a little bit. But first, I'm going to make a little bit of a flat end, and I'm going to put a dollop of black polymer, liquid polymer clay here, so that it will fix to the top. And I'm going to just spread that around a little bit so that this has something to grab onto. So I'm just going to start by angling that upwards slightly so that I can wrap over it, and you won't see that. But I'm just going to make a couple of coils here. I'm not worried about the shape of this right now because I'm going to be manipulating that. I'm basically wanting to make sure that I'm just getting what I need done. So that looks like we have enough clay for the beginnings of our bale. And you might notice that I made the top a little bit smaller than the bottom. And I'm going to show you how we're going to fit that in. So next, I'm going to take my jump ring. And this is a graphite one, or it's not black, but it's a dark color. And I'm going to take the open end of that jump ring and I am going to just push it in to that little mound that we just made. Like that. Now I'm going to take my black liquid clay again and just put a few drops in there. And now I'm going to take another little piece of black clay and I am just going to shove it down into that little hole that we had in the center of that coil and push it down. There. We have a good start. To make it a little decorative, I took a thin strip of the black that I extruded and the gold, and I'm going to twist that. It's kind of hard to keep that going, but I'm going to take this twist and start it down there, and I am just going to wrap it a little bit around, not completely hide the black because I want an accent. Just go around, and I'm just going to end it right here with just a couple of loops, kind of like a bow tie. And now I'm going to take just a little bit of black, some black polymer, liquid polymer. I keep forgetting to say liquid, don't I? Liquid polymer clay. And I'm going to make a little black ball. And that's going to go right in the center of that little bow tie type area. And like we did before, I take my small end of my ball tool and I'm just going to push that down. And to top it off, I'm going to take a little tiny piece of gold and I'm going to set that in the center there. Ta-da! Perfect size, and it fell right in. Push that down a little bit. And there we've got that. Okay, I'm going to take this Aztec gold that we used before, and I'm going to dry brush with that. Remember, we want a brush saturated but not wet. And we're just going to drag it rather flatly across the surface. And look at that, your texture just pops. That's great. Now they're looking a lot better. Our pendant is taking on a very elegant look and feel. Just adding a little bit of those gold highlights is all it took. Here we are with our finished pendant of a clear stone. And if you can see how beautiful that stone is on this side. And then when you turn it over, and don't drop it, you can again see how beautiful that stone is. So we're done.